When zombies usually hit the scene, the world as we know it crumbles into a post-apocalyptic landscape, with the government, militaries, and societal structures failing to maintain order with the advent of violent and technical life after death. In some cases, though, humanity overcomes this nightmare by understanding the threat and neutralizing it to the best of our efforts, zombies becoming a part of the status quo. In scenarios like The Cured, former undead tried to reintegrate with the healthy population, reluctant to embrace them with the virus still out there. But what if zombies were pacified and domesticated to serve our communities? Well, that's what today's movie dives into with a really unique perspective. A mixture of Lassie, Edward Scissorhands, and the Americana of the 1950s. Today, we are discussing Fido, Can Zombies Be Pets/Slaves? AKA the story of a boy and his zombie. The synopsis of Fido is that, similarly to Romero's films, radiation from space rained down on Earth's surface in the 1930s or 40s. The extraterrestrial particles infect all of mankind in a short period of time, causing the dead to reanimate into zombies. The sudden revival of the dead being so bad and out of control, with casualties that aptly titled Zombie Wars had begun. The living fought tirelessly against the dead, with no reprieve in sight. That is, until a brilliant scientist by the name of Heinrich Geiger discovered that damage to the brain could bring them down. How this wasn't discovered by the world's armies or just rednecks with guns, who knows? But with the weakness discovered, the tides of war changed, as Geiger created the National Organization of ZomCon with the sole intent of dealing with the undead, creating fenced perimeters around townships to keep citizens safe. But due to the spaceborne pathogen, anyone that had died would always come back, and that anyone could become a zombie at any moment, being parallel to the Red Scare of the late 1940s and early 50s, where government and civilians alike were schizo about people being covert communists, with zombie alarms being present in every home and street to alert authorities if there is ever trouble. ZomCon nipped the zombie problem in the bud without violence in the end. Because the reasoning here is that executing any person when they turn was such a waste. The human mind might be all but gone, but their body is sturdy, strong, and never grows tired. When his wife had been zombified, Dr. Geiger invented a collared device to preserve a zombie with beneficial results. The collar, when active, would pacify a walking corpse to become docile and no longer crave human flesh. Not only that, but zombies could be instructed to be obedient servants, doing whatever a living person tells them to do within their capabilities, making the public believe this.
Making the zombie as gentle as a household pet.
The collar can sometimes fail, and if the red light on it goes out, the zombie will return to its cannibalizing duties. But with the zombie alert system, there is no need to fear, apparently, as these defective units would just be hauled off for reprogramming if those lights ever went out. The advent of the zombie has become so quickly homogenized into American culture that we get scenes of zombies helping women with their groceries, bringing drinks to relaxing mothers, and even playing jump rope with the kids. Hell, even the idea of a dead kid can be smiled at thanks to the idea of them reanimating and slapping a collar on the little zombie Timmy O'Toole. The short educational film that starts this movie exemplifies how America will commodify anything once it's a part of everyday life.
Thanks to ZomCon, we can all become productive members of society, even after we die.
Propaganda to calm the masses, to stoke the fears of a horrible war that was ending, that the undead that will rip you apart and eat your organs were not actually threats, that they can actually be used for practical slave labor for every family, and to portray how even after your lifetime of work and hard labor that was praised by corporate overlords, that you can still work yourself to death. Even in death, you can have worth once you have died. ZomCon's motto being a better life through containment, keeping everyone safe in their bubbles despite a horrific world of the undead being just outside every fenced community. That the threat of an undead is always lingering, but to treat the threat as an exploitable commodity, one that can easily convince the public through convenience. The short film ends as it is being shown to a classroom before a representative of ZomCon speaks to the class. The safety expert politely asks how many of them have had to kill a zombie, with only 3 hands being raised. He reinforces how the company is there to make them safer by installing more defenses, regular patrols of security vans through neighborhoods, and even taking pictures of every person and child in the case that someone goes missing. Every child there is thrilled at the idea, all except for our main character, Timmy, who, when he is forced to ask a question to the representative, asks if zombies are alive or dead. Due to the dehumanization and commodification of the undead, every child there laughs at his apparently stupid inquiry. The safety expert then runs home the idea that they are mindless monsters that would have all of us dead too if we did not implement the measures that we have now. A non-answer, sure, but with a lot of truth to it. A zombie is dead by all intents and purposes to us at this point. Leading into the next point, a part of regular education and outdoor activity now is for children to fire live rounds from rifles at paper targets, aiming for the head as the children sing a pretty nightmarish nursery-like rhyme.
In the brain and not the chest, headshots are the very best.
This really shows how dark but necessary this is for society now. Children treat shooting firearms at the head as simple, playful games. 2 bullies disrupt Timmy as he admires the prowess of the class genius. Mad at Timmy's disdain for ZomCon because Timmy does not like the company, these bullies point one of their guns directly at his face. They treat it like a schoolyard intimidation tactic. The bullies say the gun is not loaded, only for the ZomCon rep to fire a bullet from the weapon. To their shock, the bullies are then treated to detention for this action by the teacher after she pulls them by the ears into the school. They pointed a loaded gun at this kid, and they found it just to be punishable with a meager detention. This shows how common this probably is and how desensitized children and adults are to this as well, especially with the idea that death isn't the end of a person's body being useful to everyone. Later on, when Timmy goes home to his mother Helen and she sees his shirt was ripped, Timmy says bullies pointed a gun at him and that's the reason for it. But Helen is more concerned about people seeing his tattered clothing rather than her son having a gun pointed at him. A reinforcement of the idea that people will be focused more on appearances than the dark undertones their world has taken, just brushing anything bad that happens under the rug. School lets out as children blissfully leave campus and 2 stiff zombies simply hold the door open for them, not moving or anything, just soullessly there. They have no cares that there are fresh living meat right in front of them. In every facet of society, at every corner, there are zombie crossing guards, zombie gardeners, zombie movers, even pinup girlfriends for creepy looking dudes, but nobody pays them any mind. Zombies are now a part of the status quo. Zombies are just mindless servants for every person. So much so, in fact, that having a zombie as a household servant is considered normal, and not having one is treated as abnormal. Helen dolls herself up, makes an extravagant dinner, and prepares a 3 olive martini for her husband Bill when he gets home, all to butter him up to the idea of having their own zombie around the house. Like a spouse trying to bring a dog into the home to convince the husband that it's a good idea. Like it's the hot new item. Like the walking corpse that that is now in the room is a luxury. Upon seeing this, Bill flips his shit and drops his glass. During the zombie wars, he was forced to shoot and kill his undead father, traumatizing him, causing him to panic when any zombie is nearby, let alone one that would be in their house permanently. They argue over this concept. The mother does not want to be a neighborhood outcast without a zombie. She doesn't want to be the only woman on the block without an undead corpse that is serving them. The father has fears of it turning and biting anybody and eating their flesh, and also the bills of zombie upkeep that make him not want to budge. He also wants to save this money on funeral bills, which gives us another glimpse into the idea of death in post-zombie war America. Funerals have become extremely rare and luxurious events. Burying a person now requires a separate coffin for your head to prevent reanimation, with extra fees to ensure public safety and to not become a productive member of society. For you see, now if you have a funeral, your corpse cannot be a zombie to become a servant and help in day-to-day life. To want a funeral meant saving up for it like a retirement fund. One where instead of coming back to life, you just stay dead in the ground, staring at darkness. You are paying to stay attached to the customs of pre-war America, where death is permanent. But with his attachment to the idea of a funeral, Timmy soon hears how his dad even has a funeral savings plan for him, noting that other kids hate him for how different he is about zombies and ZomCon, and how he will probably be killed any day by bullies. Not abused, but straight out killed. Again, brushing this horrific detail off like it is nothing, being more obsessed with giving his son a burial rather than a happy life, because he would rather see his son dead than be a zombie. But that doesn't matter to his wife. Everyone in town has their own zombie. There's no inherent danger there. It's more important to have the servant that everyone else has. This argument is going on while their new pet zombie, the protagonist zombie of the film, clumsily sees the broken glass that the husband dropped. And so he drones on his designated chore of housekeeping, so much so that he drops the prepared dinner that he had been holding onto the floor. Despite the zombies being stupid and rickety, they are still going to be used as labor. He saw that there was a task to clean up the glass and was like, you know what, this takes precedence, I'm gonna drop the food. This zombie later sees a picture of Bill as a child, standing next to his dad, holding a decapitated zombie head, probably at the peak of the zombie wars. The sight of this actually invokes emotion in the lead zombie, as he expresses fear and disgust at such a grim picture, giving us a bit of foreshadowing as we see that the zombies do retain some humanism. As reality sets in for their new house attendant, Timmy instructs him to pick up the roast he dropped, only for Bill to shock the zombie with a remote, taking pleasure in its pain as it goofily hits its head on the table. Timmy is in dismay seeing the zombie in pain. Helen ensures they are safe since the safety expert now lives on their street. The dynamic of the family's perspective being split three ways. Bill shunning the idea of a zombie until he can get a wussy version of revenge by jolting it in its pacified state. Helen embraces zombies to keep up appearances and meld with social norms so they are not considered outcasts. Timmy acknowledges that zombies are, or at least were, humans and should be treated that way in some regard, all while their zombie is chained up outside at night like a dog. We get a glimpse of how pacified zombies are in the world, working their jobs while their owners sit back and relax. The milk delivery zombie hates his afterlife as he sees the paperboy zombie throw papers door to door, leading him to believe throwing milk would be quicker and more efficient. These zombies, despite being crude and brutish, can be shown to learn and adapt at their own pace if given the chance, with some messy results. We then see a commercial playing during the day spoofing those old Life Alert ads.
Grandpa's fallen and he's getting up.
While the ad depicts how even the elderly are potential threats that cannot be truly trusted due to their age and health. How all old folks need to be equipped with ZomCon heart monitors in the eventuality that they will randomly die and need to be hauled away. A dystopian look at how things would have to be to ensure safety, but chilling no less. Another section of society needing to be heavily monitored at all times for fear of not the red menace, but the dead menace. It's here where the main premise of the movie takes off. Timmy is neglected by both his parents. His dad is going off to play golf by himself, saying boys cannot join their fathers in the sport, while his mom takes a pie to the new neighbors, saying Timmy should not play by himself as it will make him look lonely to other people. Both his parents do not care about him and only their own images. In response, he attempts to have a catch with the zombie, but since it can barely throw, he storms off in anger to the local park. Seeing the bullies shooting a can with a BB gun to screw with a park worker zombie, the bullies then attack Timmy and prepare to shoot him in the face with the BB gun as revenge, only for Timmy's zombie to swoop in and throw them like ragdolls, breaking the mouse tooth boy's arm. Timmy is exhilarated that someone finally came to his defense, and a zombie no less, something the living never really did for him, and without a word, but a groan and a smile, does this undead acknowledge him in return. The zombie shows a keen interest in playing catch, and Timmy gives him a name, dubbing the corpse the simple name of Fido, paralleling Lassie to make this not a story of a boy and his dog, but a boy and his zombie. While being named like a dog in how he has been treated seems pretty out of pocket, Fido nods in a zombified way as if to say he is happy to have a name and just not be another nameless undead, with having a name humanizing the deadite a bit more. Although Timmy does treat him like a dog at first, as he has him play fetch and saying, "Go get it, boy! Go get it! Yeah, good boy!" While Fido retrieves the ball, he is attacked by the neighborhood elder, Mrs. Henderson, slamming his head repeatedly into the ground with her walker, causing the pacification collar to stop working and for Fido to go full zombie and eat her ass up. His eyes paled out to signify his monster status, only becoming such after being treated like one. Timmy sees the carnage that he has made and then sees that Fido is about to come and get him and prepares to be eaten himself, only for the collar to suddenly come back on and spare the boy. Having almost faced being cannibalized, Timmy brushes it off and slaps the device, calling it "stupid little collar." He then scolds Fido, basically calling him a bad boy for what he did, saying he wasn't supposed to be off his leash in the first place because of laws and that his parents will be super duper mad. Again, death ain't nothing apparently. You have a dead granny with her arm lopped off in the middle of a public space, and the worst you could think of is being scolded by mom and pop, not being an accessory to murder, and this old woman coming back to life? Well, the safety expert pulls up, noting the blood on Fido, saying fresh zombies do not bleed, with Timmy defending the corpse, saying it was his own nosebleed that he wiped on the zombie. Thankfully, the expert's daughter gives Timmy her jump rope to pretend that the zombie is leashed, and then distracts her dad long enough to get home so Timmy can hose the murderer down. During the impromptu hose bath, Timmy sees Fido's autopsy scar, noting that the zombie died of a heart attack just like his own grandfather, smiling at the thought of his deceased family member he never got to meet, and putting more life into Fido's persona despite his means of death. Helen walks in on a ditty of a sight. Helen is, however, more focused on the zombie being in Bill's garage, not a half-naked zombie being with her underage son. The garage is apparently an off-limits area that Fido just caused a mess in. Helen is worried that because of this transgression, Bill will send the zombie away, and without a zombie in their house, people will begin to say
that the Robinsons are strange.
and they're gonna be right.
Fido's face shows concern for her well-being, as Timmy says they will clean up with Fido's help. Helen and later Bill are confused at Timmy naming a zombie, calling it unusual to label a monster turned commodity. Bill goes on to say that zombies are dead and cannot have heart attacks, with Timmy correcting him, saying it was a heart attack that killed the original living man, in a similar vein to Bill's father, prompting Bill to experience PTSD and leave the room. Bill tries to deny how the living can become the dead just like his father did, while Timmy willfully accepts the reality of the world. The new generation is molded and grew up with all of this, while the older generations are still coming to terms. The terms of death and being dead are just now kind of another footnote in a person's body's time on Earth. The safety expert comes by looking for the missing Mrs. Henderson. Bill argues that she should have been sent to an old folks' home years ago as a precaution, since old prisons were retrofitted to house the dangerous elderly, basically sending the Medicare recipients to camps to not disturb the peace, to not make people think that they could turn at any moment to start to kill or threaten their vibes. Bill is asked about who he had to kill during the zombie wars, and his wife having to answer for him saying his father, which, a correction on my part from earlier, Bill says he had to kill his father when he was 11, so that would have put the zombie wars probably in the early 1930s, effectively replacing World War I and II. The safety expert tries to comfort Bill by saying it was a necessity to kill his father. Sometimes you had to kill your own family. That's just how it is in a zombie world. And in another fit of numbed darkness, he even says this about his wife in jest.
I'd take Dee Dee's head off in a second if I had to.
With his wife laughing off the notion of being decapitated by her own husband. After the expert leaves, Timmy asks what would happen to someone if a person's zombie got loose and killed. A purely hypothetical question, of course. The answer? Former neighbors of theirs accidentally allowed their zombie to get out and it ate Christmas carolers. Their punishment was being sent outside the safety of the ZomCon perimeters into the zombie-ridden wastelands of the wild zones. Prisons no longer exist in society, so corporal punishment is now you being thrown out into the actual post-apocalypse that still very much exists outside the fences. A mirror of how, despite there being a picture-perfect image of the American dream, just outside of it is a hellish nightmare that everyone actively ignores, that they actively sleep on. With the threat of such a punishment now fresh on his mind, Mrs. Henderson reanimated within the bright moonlight. That night, she ambushes and eats a local dog walker, spiraling the minor incident into a slowly budding outbreak. Timmy goes to find her and bury the body, with Timmy finding the zombie granny and decapitating her with a shovel. A 10-year-old boy doing this just so callously, and his response to this regicide being a simple,
"Sorry, Mrs. Henderson."
He goes to the garden bed of Central Park and buries her dismembered body under the statue of Dr. Geiger, attempting to hide evidence of his own zombie's attack under the visage of the man that brought zombie pacification to the world. Timmy gets back home to see the thunderstorm has turned off Fido's collar again, this time without reverting him back to his pacified state when Timmy arrived. The former ZomCon worker Mr. Theopolis shows up and brings Fido into his basement lab created from his severance package after working at ZomCon for years. Strapping Fido up to repair his pacification collar, Mr. Theopolis notes how zombies can be a bit bitey, and how his lovely servant almost bit him a while back. But with a little love, care, and tune-ups, things can be just fine. Although his explanation of how he got his underaged girl zombie was that she died of an aneurysm at a market when she was with her mother getting candy, and she was collared before she even hit the floor, so no rot set in her dead body. And him pulling a little ditty to get her as his personal zombie. Allegations aside, he notes that even in Fido's fully zombified state, he reaches for a nearby pack of smokes, saying how old habits die hard, how what we enjoyed or regularly partook in will always be ingrained within our minds. Despite appearing to not want anything else but to eat the creepy scientist and the boy, this zombie still takes a big hit of smoke with delight, until the cigarette is taken from its mouth as the zombie reverts back to its angy, hungry boy state. Timmy brings up an inquisitive point seeing Fido turn back into the zombified state, asking the adult why zombies eat people. Mr. Theopolis states it is a complete unknown. As a nod to Return of the Living Dead, he says that Dr. Geiger hypothesized that zombies eat living flesh as a way of attempting to come back to life. Real life, or at least numb the pain of death. Fixing Fido's collar, Timmy gets told this.
Not a word of this to anyone. Not your mom, not your dad. This will be our little secret, or it's free lawn mowing for a year.
Out of context, this guy in a robe with a little boy in the basement while a teenage girl is just watching in the corner, zombie Chris Hansen is going to be asking him to have a seat sometime soon. Fido returns home to his regular chained up position to see Theopolis getting groovy with his girl zombie, and Fido looks in his own home's window to see nothing. As weird as it is to say, Fido probably envies this. At least in the notion for a zombie to receive attention as more than a patsy for chores and labor. The next morning, Helen dresses Fido up in her husband's suit to go to a funeral. Fido feels more human as Helen begins to warm up to his cold body. At the funeral, Bill is irritated his suit was used on a zombie, saying he should have stayed dressed in his worker apparel. Helen shoots this down, both for the occasion and to secretly separate the zombie from its persona. This is exemplified when Bill goes to excitedly talk to the gravediggers about funerals while Timmy asks her if zombies are alive or dead. Bill is more concerned about death while Timmy is more concerned about who is around and alive. Helen is stumped at his notion. For her, up until that point, they weren't either alive or dead. She really hadn't considered it. They were just items to help her blend in and nothing more. But when Timmy's inquiry comes up, she leans more towards his way of thinking. They are most likely indeed alive, but with her own spin on it. Timmy debates if zombies are destined for heaven or hell, if their actions as mindless cannibals were considered sinful. This being the height of the Americana of the 1950s, Judeo-Christian beliefs would be brought up. It's not shoved in your face, but discussing the afterlife when the undead are around does make sense. These questions would come up, and Helen gives a decently grounded response into the notion of religion and zombies, stating that she believes zombies exist in a physical purgatory, stuck between both planes indefinitely, not guilty of sin nor rewarded for virtue. God only sees the good in everyone, and the atrocities the zombies have committed is not a fault of their own. At some point they will face their dues, but for now, the zombies are here to stay. Their enlightening conversation is cut short by the father bringing up the statistic that only 10% of people that die receive funerals anymore, with the rest electing to donate their bodies for hard labor. Not science, but labor. Timmy says being a zombie is preferable to being fully dead. Bill is offended at the remark, trying to shut down such a horrific outlook. However, with her mind open to the matter, Helen says it is healthy for a boy to be observational about the world, instead of being closed off and scared of the unknown.
Better than focusing on walking corpses who should be buried.
In an act of defiance, Helen says upon their deaths, both her and Timmy will go full zombie and leave him to his lonesome funeral in the ground. Families are now discussing their deaths so casually as if it's a small disagreement. That night, dozens of newly zombified people are being gunned down by ZomCon officers. All of this spurred by Mrs. Henderson and more specifically, Fido. Despite being public officials in charge of safety, all of them are missing their gunshots multiple times, not hitting the head in most cases, with an older officer actually just sitting still and allowing himself to get bitten by a slow-moving zombie. Instead of the officers in the car reacting to a fellow agent getting bitten as if it's a bad thing, they treat it more like an annoyance.
God, I hate old people.
The next morning, this zombie outbreak is not mentioned whatsoever or even seen, brushed under the rug so life for the public can continue unscathed. Helen sees Timmy and Fido washing the car together like two old pals. Instead of bringing just Timmy a glass of lemonade, she decides to bring 3 glasses of lemonade outside for the 3 of them, as if they are the family and she is choosing to spend time with them in place of her always absent husband, especially as Fido is looking at Helen as if a radiant glow is emanating off her. He isn't looking at her like she's a slab of meat like a zombie would or a horn dog guy would, but a man in love. A zombie in love. The 3 all enjoy each other's company as Timmy squirts them with the hose, but the dream is shattered when Bill angrily steps in, hating that a zombie is touching his precious automobile, and that giving a zombie a drink is nonsense since they are not human and do not need to drink, with the sound of Fido sucking down the beverage cutting him off. Not one to be corrected, he shoves Fido off the car, stating that a zombie's aggressive touch will mess the finish, that flesh-eating maniacs cannot do a man's work, despite zombies being in every facet of society now doing man's work. Bill's friend Floyd pulls up to take him golfing. Helen, sick of him neglecting the family, asks him to stay and have family time, doing everything she can, saying out loud how Bill hates this guy, and then motions on her belly, insinuating that she is pregnant. Bill ignores this all and just yells at his family for hampering his tea time. Fido mean mugs him, grunting in anger. This dead guy pissed off at this living dude squandering such a good life for something so stupid and trivial. Bill happily leaves them behind, only to look back behind him on the road forward to see his family smiling and having fun without him. More importantly, the zombie he hates so much is filling his role in the nuclear family. In the park, the bullies make a statement that Timmy's zombie was probably involved with Mrs. Robinson's death, with the safety expert doubting them because of their violent tendencies from before. Timmy is later seen frolicking in open fields with Fido, a scene very reminiscent of the old Lassie television show from the 50s that this was heavily inspired by. In their merriment, they are held at gunpoint and tied to trees by the bullies, angry that the ZomCon rep that they admire so much did not believe them, so they plan on breaking Fido's collar and letting him loose, trying to shoot and kill Fido before he can bite Timmy so his family can be blamed for Mrs. Anderson's death and this attack, so the family can be sent to the wild zone. However, Rat-Tooth's aim is piss poor, shooting Fido in the chest with no effect. Actually, no, it was effective. Super effective indeed. The fat bully is killed by his abusive brother due to the irony of carelessly firing live ammunition. Rat-Tooth is delivered instant karma right then and there by being cornered in a nearby shed and being eaten alive by Fido. The bullies got their comeuppance, wanting just the violence of what ZomCon had to offer and lashing out at anyone that thought differently than what they were told by the organization. Timmy is spared, seeing the world for what it is as Timmy sees his bloody-soaked friend lumber towards him and accepts his fate of being eaten alive, only for the non-colored Fido to try and untie him. A knot too complex for him to try and undo, but his foggy eyes are still concerned for Timmy. He is fully zombified and goes to these lengths to save Timmy. But despite having the visage of a monster, he is still looking to protect the humans that took care of him, only becoming a monster when forced to. Fido blocks off the shed door to prevent Rattooth from coming back and eating Timmy while he runs off to go get Helen. In this time, Fido's eyes have returned to their human color despite the collar's light being out. Fido learned to pacify his zombie urges on his own. Fido himself seems to be a hybrid of both Romero's iconic intelligent zombies, Bub and Big Daddy. Subsequently, learning from a kind-hearted person to embrace the light of humanity, like Bub, and by learning to adapt to the world around him as time goes on, like Big Daddy. Fido is slowly becoming human in his own regard after being treated like one by Timmy. Helen spots a zombified neighbor as Theopolis tries to shoot it. The safety expert's daughter is able to execute it on the spot, with everyone there treating it like a sport.
Nice shot.
Mirroring Lassie again, Fido comes up to the frazzled mother with a look of urgency in his widened eyes. As she asks where Timmy is, he only walks away with haste, basically being where is Timmy? Has he fallen down a well? Where is he, Fido? Fido, as he leads her to him, even mimicking the obvious fake background of the road as they drive, as that was a common thing in film and television in the 1950s. Before arriving, Helen sees that Fido's collar is turned off and panics, stopping the car. She pulls out her revolver, preparing to kill him, but stops when she sees his puppy dog eyes. She sees the human in him now too, even without restraints. Hell, this lady is seeing more than those puppy dog eyes in him. Girl just stepped into the necrophilia zone, and she is gonna feel dead in bed soon enough, I'm sure. Oh god, did I just say that? Timmy is about to be eaten by Rattooth as Helen saves him as Fido picks up Fat Boy and throws him like a rag doll. Helen shoots them both, although with more than 6 shots in her revolver.
Boy, I really hope somebody got fired for that blunder.
Helen, grateful for her son being saved, hugs Fido. The sound of romantic music and his astonished look makes you think his heart grew 3 sizes that day. In this together, Helen douses the shed with the bullies' corpses inside and lights it on fire. Them all staring at the roaring flames as a family of 3. Listing off how they can never speak of this again or let this be considered normal for any of them. The bullies were out to kill him, both while they were alive and undead, and Timmy and them only acted in self-defense. With this double homicide up in smoke, maybe they can go back to normality with their sentient zombie. Or that would be the case if a worker zombie didn't dig up the corpse of Mrs. Henderson. Timmy and Fido's actions were being unearthed quickly. Timmy's family has a dinner date at the safety expert's house. Helen, breaking the status quo of being just a servant to her husband, just as zombies are to the living, tells the safety expert to get his own beer. Both men are guffawed at a wife talking back to her husband and rebelling. Later in his study, the expert tells Bill to keep his live wire of a spouse and the changing zombie on a tight leash, and to question his family's motives with their zombie and its connection with Mrs. Henderson's murder. When they return home, Bill demands a discussion with Helen. In response, doing as he had always done to her, she ignores him to do what she wants. She turns on some music and tries to dance with Bill in a very fun and playful way, trying to liven up their dull lives by getting a little wild, something Bill admits they had not done since their honeymoon years ago. Awkwardly, all of this is going down while Fido sits in the corner in basically a cuck chair just watching with silent awe. When Bill denies her advances, she turns to Fido, pulling him from the sneako chair to dance. Fido is actually able to keep up with her in some way and guide her through the moves while she enjoys it. Bill, not one to become a cuck, walks out on the site, only to return with the shock remote to hurt Fido, avoiding confrontation with either of them to remotely shut down any fun she could have, as he leaves again, avoiding the situation to go to bed. Dude, you got cucked by a dead dude with no moves but all game. Fido is chained back up outside as Helen speaks with him, heart to deadened heart, saying that she wishes she could have met him before he died, asking if he remembers being alive. His look seems to be on the fence either way, if he can remember or not. But what can be interpreted is this girl's got a stiffy for the stiffy. As investigations further, Timmy's blood-soaked baseball is discovered in the ground, leading to Fido being hauled away the next morning with sufficient evidence. The safety expert tells Timmy that his actions warranted the entire family being sent to the wild zone, but because he has pull in ZomCon, their family would be safe so long as they followed the rules from here on out. The family pet turned family guy is now out of their lives after everything they had been through, but their eyes are even more open to what a zombie can be, of what Fido did for them, and how much their lives were bettered by a man, a dead guy that didn't try and hide the realities of the world and embrace them for what they were. Even that night, Bill avoids talking to them when Timmy brings up how Helen was the one that killed the bullies after they zombified. As usual, mother and son are left to pick up the pieces of what's happened by themselves, to talk things out without the father figure in their lives, saying how they love Fido. Not in a necrophilic way, well, in the mom's case, maybe, but she says plausible deniability. She doesn't feel that way romantically, but loving Fido nonetheless, saying Fido is family. The next day, Bill takes his son to school for the first time in his son's life, not even knowing how to take him to school because he doesn't know where the school is, only doing so because he feels like a bad father after so much neglect, then gifting his son a snub-nosed revolver with live bullets, trying to bond with him, but also to reinforce the fear of zombies and how they need to be killed, and the very realistic need to defend yourself in any eventuality in this world. But he is unable to look his son straight in the eyes, questioning his role as a parent. Bill is attempting to reconcile with his family after Fido was taken away. But when Helen reveals she is pregnant to him, he can only think of how much more expensive funeral costs will be. Before a baby even comes into this world, Bill can only think of it not becoming a zombie and how much it will cost him to prevent that reality. His fears and paranoia of the undead have all but consumed his life. He is not dead, but he is not living. Any form of life and excitement he can experience is always shot down by his own doing. It's like the saying goes, living in fear is like not living at all. Later on, the safety expert's daughter reveals to Timmy that Fido is still alive and devises a scheme with him, having Mr. Theopolis, the former employee, go to ZomCon headquarters with Timmy to get Fido back. The parents see the note that the daughter left him and soon follow. Bill's fears are boiling up, of not only zombies and death, but being a bad father, saying that his family got attached to the zombie because he might be a bad dad. That can't be right, because his own father tried eating him when he was a boy, and he's not trying to eat his son, so he's a better father by default, outright projecting to his wife. Her response?
Just because your father tried to eat you, does that mean we all have to be unhappy? Forever?
Damn straight, girl. Tell him. Timmy and Theopolis arrive, getting a glimpse of normal people and their zombies. All these people coming to ZomCon as if they are either returning their defective models or taking them in for tune-ups. A chef's zombie's lips have been burned off. One dead guy has a fork lodged in its eye, treating these funny but gory scenes of zombies as if they are just normal wear and tear for household appliances. Theopolis turns off a zombie's collar, causing chaos to break out and someone dying just so that Timmy can sneak into the ZomCon factory. People are getting bitten and killed as a distraction.
Nothing strange about that.
You guys, he's being sarcastic.
In the frenzy, the clerk pulls out a pistol and nicks Theopolis' girlfriend or servant or Minecraft YouTuber enjoyer, and then he sees her head injured and the nerd goes into a violent rage.
That's my Tammy. You knucklehead!
His relationship with this zombie is weird, but I guess it's indicative of the culture at the time. My grandfather was 26 when he married my grandma when she was 15, so yeah, 1950s. Weird times, dude. Oh, and her being a zombie too. That's weird too. Don't peg nothing on me, my Twitter bio says I'm a zombie lover. Not the philiac kind, mind you, just so we're clear. The factory alarms start going off only for the safety expert to call it off. Being obsessed with the company slogan, a better life through containment, would be harmed if something like this were to get out. He discovers the root of the problem as Timmy enters the factory floor. We see Fido as a mindless factory worker, putting on his original apparel to toil away, chained extensively to his job, out of sight and out of mind, unable to do anything else but work. A dramatization of the corporate American zombies that exist, selling his soul to the company store that ripped him away from the only family he knows. When Timmy gains his attention, he is also immediately ripped away again by the safety expert who threatens to harm his boy. Fido is coming to the rescue. Slave labor be damned. Our titular zombie breaks the chain of his oppression, using the tools of ZomCon to free himself, much like Big Daddy did by breaking through the glass of the mall in Land of the Dead, and in similar apparel. The breakdown of containment, law and order, as it continues to heighten as Helen rams the car through the front gate of the corporation. Bill rushes in with the shotgun to save his son, scared out of his mind, but wanting to prove he is a good father to her and his son, but not before leaving her with some final words.
Remember, Helen? Head coffin.
He doesn't tell her I love you, or to take care of Timmy, or for them to stay strong. Nothing heroic or caring, but to inform his wife how he wants to not become a zombie. Even when he is brave, he can only show how scared he is of the one thing he fears the most: zombies. And becoming one, like his father, may be a mirror to thinking instead of zombies being a monster in the eyes of others, like his family, seeing his own father be a monster and not wanting that for his nuclear family. The safety expert drags Timmy to the outer fence, showing him the wild zone face to face, how the outside is nothing but the ravenous dead and charred remains, that out there is chaos, and within their walls is order. Punishing Timmy for shattering his image, he throws Timmy into the wild zone and shuts the door behind him, allowing a child to potentially be ripped apart and eaten alive. Timmy is literally on the metaphorical fence of zombies and the living, chaos and control, fear, and compassion. Bill makes his way through the factory floor as zombies drolfully go on about their work, not posing him any danger but still causing him to fidget and shake like a chihuahua. Finding Fido, we have another "where is he, boy? Where is he?" moment, leading the man that hated him to save their son. Seeing Timmy on the brink of death, Bill charges in to attack the expert. "Dude, you had a shotgun and the expert was distracted, but sure, rush him like an ape with a stick." Thankfully, the expert left the keys in the fence so that Timmy could escape the fate. Picking up his father's shotgun, he tries to save him, but while the horde accumulates and distracts him, Bill is killed. With his father dead, Timmy faces the expert alone. That is, until he willingly breaks the pacification collar on Fido's neck. Fido's eyes widening out again to unleash the beast. However, just like Lassie, Fido obeys the commands of his boy when he tells him to "go get him, boy, go get him." Unlike Lassie though, Fido sinks his teeth in the neck of the aggressor to leave him bleeding out. Fido lets out an angry yell, as if screaming in victory for killing the man that caused him the only pain he has really felt since becoming a sentient zombie, destroying the order to let in a little bit of chaos as the horde slowly seeps in. Helen arrives to save them and rush them out. Then Theopolis follows in tow to drive them out of there and get to safety. News reports of the breach of the Wild Zone being at ZomCon headquarters of all places get out. While the safety expert assumed it would tarnish the name of the company, nothing really changed. Casualties were reported to be kept to a low number. The safety expert, which now I know his name is John Bottoms, the main reason I didn't call him by his name is because he sounds like the Led Zeppelin drummer John Bonham, and I kept mixing that up. But John Bottoms was described as a war hero from the zombie wars who died protecting our great country, while the actual reason for the breach, being a little boy getting into the factory, was covered up and pinned on a worker named Murphy, saying this guy accepted bribes from local zombie poachers. Another dab of lore in this universe at the end of the movie, as we see a cut off head being paraded around by local rednecks. The company in control of the narrative changes the story to better suit their needs of protecting their own image. To not say a child from a good neighborhood caused this outbreak, but pointing the finger at roaming bands of poor folk, shifting the blame to nameless groups as everything goes back to normal in this sprawling suburbia. Helen and Timmy watch this broadcast. Helen is now a changed woman, no longer obsessed with her image like ZomCon, looking rejuvenated despite her husband being dead. And I mean dead. They go to his funeral and watch his head coffin be chucked into the ground. Fido standing by her side like he is her man, looking concerned still for the former father figure, but being told this is what he ultimately wanted from the beginning, so there was no need to worry about his sacrifice. He is doing what he always dreamt of, to be in the ground. Later, every character is seen in the family backyard having a summer cookout and enjoying the day. Timmy is having that catch with Fido, as Fido actually catches the ball and smiles a murky grin with a grunt of happiness. A small but effective way to show Timmy is finally getting a dad in some regard, someone to spend time with. Fido is even dressed like a dad in a Hawaiian shirt, completely having transformed from his mindless labor zombie visage to the silent but loving paternal one. John Bottom's daughter arrives at the cookout with the zombified John Bottoms on a leash. A bit of role reversal at the end of the movie plays out. The former safety expert of ZomCon, now reduced to a mute zombie being pulled around like a poodle by his daughter, dressed in the drab worker attire of ZomCon official zombies. His collar active, the light on, and his eyes widened out, losing his name and only ever being referred to as Daddy from here on out. All while Fido, the zombie that was at the core issue of all of this, the one that came to life, is dressed casually. The light on the collar is off. The collar is turned off, eyes full of life and expressiveness. Fido can only look at John with disgust, but also superiority, like he's looking down on him now, having proven that zombies can be more than just playthings and slaves. And that is what John is relegated to now. Fido to become a father and husband for the living around him, and make a breakthrough in the notion of life and death in this world, to not live in fear, but learning to truly live even after death. Fido takes a lit cigarette lying around and takes a good drag, blowing out smoke like a goofy dad would, gazing at the newly born infant that he will now look after. A zombie touching a new life without anyone nearby being afraid, with Helen even giving him a loving gaze, accepting him for who he is. And Fido can only sit there and give a big old dumbass grin. Fido won. He was more than a zombie. He was a person. Now, I know this really drives home the whole zombies are people too thing. In other universes, this idea got people outright killed through hysterical or emotional states. Even in Fido, does it bear some semblance of the zombie trope of them not being your loved ones anymore? Hell, the movie even has an infomercial from ZomCon saying exactly that. But one consistent thing in zombie media is using zombies as a medium to convey a message. It's been that way since Romero's original works, and in this, the concept of zombies being pacified in gated communities to be used as slave labor and household pets without considering them people was a well-executed idea, especially within the setting of 1950s American culture, with connections to the Red Scare that dominated the space in that era, parallel to the Dead Scare that was dominant throughout the movie. Post-war suburbia being rife with propaganda over the foreign threat dominating normal life is everywhere. ZomCon, the Zombie Defense Agency, taking basically all control of governmental functions after the zombie wars. Zombies being pacified as commodities to make the living's lives easier introduced something no other zombie movie had done before or after, and unleashing a plethora of narrative concepts from each titular character. Timmy doubted the world for what he was being taught by school and public officials. Despite being shunned by his peers, he still inquired about the zombie threat, asking if they were more than just the monsters we always fought and heard about. Zombies acted like monsters, both as their natural state and when they were treated as both animals and slaves. They were never given time to acclimate and learn to subside their urges after the collars were invented. Timmy was alone in a world dominated by people that lived in either constant fear or struggling to fit in with either safety or the norm. Timmy was an outcast that was even threatened with death and still not given the time of day by any loved ones. Timmy just wanted a companion and understanding for others, and he found one in the very monsters he was told never to befriend. Much like Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, except without the dead little girl in the end. Timmy, through his childlike wonder and inquisitive nature, was able to change the world around him. His mother, Helen, was engulfed in trying to fit in, to not look strange to other women and families. Her son was shunned, and her household was zombieless. She only wanted a zombie because it meant they were the odd ones out if they did not have a zombie, ignoring how miserable her life was with her husband, to fill the void of attention, to put on a facade for others, and pretend to live. Through Timmy's questions and Fido's actions, she saw that she was missing out on a lot, both by neglecting her son and by not having the man of the house do more than just work. She was not living. Bill was a very important character for the theme of life and death. His marriage was practically dead without either of them noticing. Him constantly being away playing golf or working and ignoring his son, scared to do anything but work in order to pay the bills for his family's future funerals, a fate he put on them and buried them in with debt, because he didn't want the same fate as his own father turning into a zombie and trying to attack loved ones. Despite zombies having their stigma pretty much removed through the advent of the pacification collars, he still fears them eating him alive. Also being scared that when the reality of being a bad father hit him, that he was a bad father through neglect. Having spent all of his boy's life focusing on work to ensure his son had a good death. Not a good life, but a good death. Cats in the cradle in the silver spoon, little boy Timmy in the Fido and the moon, that sort of thing. Living every day of his life in fear, making his life, his wife's life, and his son's life miserable. He was not living. His marriage was dying. And it took a zombie to bring some life back. The safety expert ensured that by living by ZomCon's rules, by their propaganda, through their message of containment, that everything would be fine. But being forced to be told how to live isn't a way to live. Those that did fall in line were violent psychopaths that were willing to kill those that didn't completely obey the organization's way of thinking, that zombies were just brainless flesh eaters. But Fido proved them wrong. They ended up completely dead, while Fido lived on. Fido only ever attacked living people that treated him like an animal, abused him, or those around him. Even when he fell into his dark urges, he never attacked Timmy once, only using them to attack people that attacked him or his family. Through Mr. Theopolis was he more understood. Fido smoking a cigarette to relive his past life through old habits. By seeing relationships that, well, Theopolis wasn't a good example, but that zombies could be treated as more than commodities. To see that Timmy considered him a pet, then a friend, and eventually a core part of the family, as did his mother. And eventually, even though he didn't say it, his father Bill, who passed the torch to the Deadite when he asked for Fido's help to save Timmy. When Bill died, Fido took up the mantle, killing the core tenet of fear that was the safety expert's containment theory. Fido showed everyone, even without the collar's influence, that a zombie could learn to live, more so than most humans, and more so living in the moment. That about wraps up this look into a thought-provoking piece of zombie media. What did you think of Fido? Did you think my analysis of it was too preachy? Did I miss out on something? Is there a movie like this you want me to cover in a similar fashion? Comments are right there. You can slap some down. It's good for the algorithm. If you want to check out the movie for yourself, it is on YouTube. Like and subscribe and all that typical YouTube jargon. And hey, if you want to, throw in $1 on my Patreon and YouTube channel memberships on screen here. Thanks to Chago, aka QuickFlix, for editing this video together today. Until next time, I'm Zach S, aka WowSuch Gaming. Never forget to stay happy, stay healthy, remember to live each day like you're alive, and stay wow.